All right, welcome back to the Retirement Railroad. This is update number 6 for September 2020. This month we take a look at a number of different things. I've got some other videos where I'm running trains finally, and I've got an update this month for installing a DCC decoder in an Athearn Blue Box. Not that hard, just a lot of wires, and a few other things happening. Let me switch cameras. All right, okay, if you look back over there, you can see the grain elevator and the gravel company, and there's a new rock outcropping over there on what I call the island, Lockport Industrial. And so we'll take a look at that. The bridge that spans this area over here, it's a drop-in section that I've got over my shoulder, back there. You can see it. Alright. I don't like the way that works. I mean, it works, but it's a pain in the ass. So I'm going to change that out in October and make it a lift-up pivot. Okay. The other bridge over there is on a swing, so, and it works great. So anyway, with that, let's take a look at some of this month's updates.
Okay, this is the Lockport Industrial Center with the grain elevator. Down below it will be a little port for barges. And just to the left of that tank, storage tank, will be a refinery and loading platforms. And then you can see the limestone cliff with the shovel there. There's also a drag line that's coming in, and a bulldozer and dump trucks, etc. That will be the quarry. And the gravel company, or aggregate company. Okay. So this is where I'm currently working.
Okay, so we're back at my fancy high-tech spray booth, and what I've done is I've taken some 3-inch strip of acrylic, and as you see here, and you may or may not be able to pick it up, but there's diagrams, track plans taped off on the acrylic using this pinstriping style tape. And painted black. Okay, tomorrow when it's dry, I'll come in and I'll put them on the drill press and drill out where the recessed switches go. Actually, I'll peel off the pinstriping first, and then I'll paint it again in gold, so that those where the pinstriping was will turn out looking gold. All right, then I'll wait another day before I drill it out on the drill press and install the switches. Okay, so here's those switches I was talking about. It will get mounted on those panels. I ordered, back when I started this project, I ordered 2 or 3 bags with a dozen per bag. So I should have more than enough. Wiring, what a mess. It's simply because I haven't started tying things back and labeling them. But you'll notice I have 4 bus lines. Black and white, blue and white, orange and white, yellow and white. Black and white's for the outer main line, blue and white's for the inner main line, orange and white is for all the sidings, all right? And yellow and white is for all the accessories, such as all the Smale Tortoise switch machines. So
and they're all connected through a PM42, which is basically a big circuit breaker. So if I have a short in one, I don't lose everything. So anyway, that's an important note. The reason I have so many wires is I have drops, track drops, for every 3-foot piece of flex track. All right, so that adds up in a hurry, and a lot of wires, but pays off in the end because you don't have any dead spots. So plus all my rail connectors are soldered together too, so it's kind of a double redundancy. All right, more later. Okay, last week I scored on eBay, which is always a gamble, these two Burlington engines, a GP35 and an SD45, both brand new in the box. The detail parts pouches were still sealed. All right, and so I ordered some decoders. One of them arrived late yesterday, and so I'll do a video showing how I install a Digitrax decoder. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so we are going to install a decoder in this Athearn Blue Box GP35. All right, to pull it apart, you simply just pull the sides apart and lift it off. Okay, we're going to add not only front and rear LEDs, we're going to also do a cab and top light LED as well. Okay. Next step is this top bar here can come off. All right. We don't need it. And since we're going to replace the bulbs, we don't need this. But we do need the bracket that it slides down into. Just wiggle that. Little pin right there. This one's in there pretty tight. There we go. There we go. Don't need that. Okay, next step is to isolate the motor. The contacts, the electrical pickups are in the trucks. The engineer side, or the right-hand side, I'll think of it as a British driver. All right, they drive on the right side. So we got pickups there, and on the left side that are connected here, and on the left side of the wheels, all right, it's picked up and transferred to the motor via the chassis. Now we don't want that with the DCC because the pickup's got to go directly to the decoder before going back to the engine. So we're going to pull the motor out, and it's just simply mounts down here that we can slide out, and we can undo the drivetrain. All right, just slides out real easy. Okay, you see here's the motor mounts. Pull those off to the side. All right, and then we're going to take and cut these two tabs. All right, because that is what makes contact. See if I can get them up close enough for you. These two contacts here make contact with the frame. So we're going to cut those off.
And then to further isolate the motor, we're going to take a little electrical tape. And we are going to cut it so that it fits right down that little trough that the motor sits down into. Okay, so put this right down in here. Make sure our motor mounts are going to be able to go down. The pegs can still go down in their little slots. Right there. Okay. All right. So now the motor cannot short out. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and solder leads to these upper and lower clips. We're going to pull them off, and there's little springs and motor brushes in there, and we have to do this very carefully because we don't want to lose those springs and brushes. So we'll be right back to do that. Okay, so we're doing a little bit out of order as I'm waiting for the mail person to come with my decoder. For lights, I use these LEDs. They come pre-wired with resistors, and fairly inexpensive. And then they come looking like a bulb. It's not a bulb, it's just acrylic plastic. But it makes it look like a bulb on there. But what I have to do, okay, is I take and I sand or file or grind them down, all right, so they're smaller and have flat surfaces that I can use super glue to glue them in their proper places. The bulb looking, the acrylic plastic bulb, right, that's pretty good for like an F unit or an E unit because they'll fit right in the hole. Okay. All right. Being this GP35 was brand new, all right, two of the light lenses here and here, all right, have to be installed. So, and there's little tabs on them, and I'll cut those tabs off, and then I'll glue two of these lights super glue them onto here because it's a whole lot easier to get them on here than trying to do it inside the shell. All right, so we'll be back. Okay, so we're back. I'm going to be installing a Digitrax SDXH166D decoder. It's a 16-bit sound decoder. And you notice it comes with a speaker. Although these speakers are, let's just say, big, bulky, and don't put out very good sound. So instead, I'm going to install one of these small, what they call sugar cube speakers, which puts much smaller and puts out much better sound. But they have to be in an enclosure. So, and they're relatively inexpensive. So we put it in the enclosure with the terminals up so that we can still solder to them. My fingers will work. My big fat fingers. There we go. No, I almost had it. The enclosure is actually what gives the sound quality for the speaker, I'm told. A lot of people like to use iPhone speakers as well that they get on eBay. I haven't tried that, but I hear it's good. There we go. Okay, so we got her in the enclosure. Now, since I do this, this is my first, which means I've got a leftover wiring harness right here from the last one I used. So we're going to clip off this speaker. And then we're going to solder to the two terminals. So let me get that done. I'll show you. Okay, so we got the little sugar cube soldered on the harness. Now, these wires here, we're only going to use the brown one, and that'll be for our extra light. Well, front, rear, and number board top lights. Okay, so we'll keep that, and we're going to trim off all of these so they don't get in our way later. All right, next step is to wire up the motor. All right, so let's get the decoder out of its package. A nice manual here that has a wiring diagram. Makes it awful hard to mess up. Get it out. Thing. Should be stapled through the book. CVs listed, etc. Yeah. There it is. All right. Okay. So let's get our decoder out of the bag here. And as I said, we've got the other wiring harness, so we'll pull this wiring harness off gently. Okay. And I'll put a sugar cube on that one for next time. And we'll put, well, we can wait to put that on until after I get it worked out. Okay. So, we have a little file right here that I'm going to use to rough up contact points here, here, and here so that we can solder to them more easily. Polished metal is sometimes hard to get a solder joint to stick on. Now it's important to note, both of these are the same polarity, okay? Front is your chassis, and that's the ground, or negative, kind of, whatever you want to call it. Okay. First thing I want to do is I want to solder the joints to these clips. Now you got to be very careful. I'm going to take these clips off one at a time and show you the springs and the brushes that you do not want to lose. Now, almost every Athearn Blue Box that I've encountered is this same process. All right. Now some of them are a little bit different as far as flywheels, etc., but how you hook them up is all the same. And I dropped the spring, which is what you don't want to do. Luckily, it's right here. Now I heard some people say put some carpet or felt or something down, because that way things don't bounce. And that's a good point. All right. So right here's that spring. All right, we're going to put it right back in there. What the spring does is it keeps contact, all right, so like the electrical contact from here through the spring and casing down, and it pushes down on what's called a brush, right? And it's usually a little carbon piece that sticks down against the motor. Oh, I can't even remember the name. It's not the armature, it's not something else. But anyway, and that's what keeps the contact. Okay, so first thing we want to do, this is the positive side, and what we want to do is positive, which is on the right side, which is engineer side, is red. Okay, so what we're going to do is this red wire is going to go to both of these. And the way I'm going to do that is, engine sits here, the decoder is going to sit here, right? So right about here, I need a little spot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to melt away the insulation here. Or at least enough where I can get my fingernails to separate it some. All right, yeah. Okay, so as you can see, I've stripped that wire a little bit right there. Hopefully you saw that. What I'm going to do is put a little rosin flux, which helps the solder flow. Put some right here. Put some on the wire. All right, and I'm going to tin the wire. I don't know why they call it tinning, but basically it's just putting solder on the wires, on the wire itself. Okay, so I just put a little solder on there. Okay, so the wire's tinned. And I put some solder on here. All right, now all I need to do right like that. Okay. Now the other end of the red wire is going to come back over here to the back side. So we're going to put some flux on here. We're going to put some flux on here, and we're going to tin the wire and the contact. With soldering, less is more. I'm one of those that for years thought I had to have a big glob of solder. Man, guess what? You don't. Okay, nice and tight there. So the red wire's done. All right, now from the left side, which is this side over here towards me, all right, is the fireman side, and we use black wire. Okay, so there's a whole lot of black wire going on here. All right. Shave a little off of that. One of the biggest challenges is how tight everything gets. When you're all done trying to put the shell back together, trying to make everything fit inside there, that's always the challenge. Especially on these freight engines, GPs, SDs. Okay, so now we have to wire to the motor, and on the positive side is the orange wire. Okay, and positive is this top that I took the clip off of. All right, so we're going to tin it up right here. And the reason you take it off, don't do it on the motor, because these will heat up and it'll melt the plastic on the motor, and then you're up a creek. So pull them off to do it. Here's orange wire. Tin it up. Now, every now and then you need to clean off your tip. And I don't see my cleaner. Oh, I see it over there. Hang on. Be right back. Yeah, they got some plastic on the tip from when I did the speaker. So, all right. Tin up the orange. Right like that. Now, just need another hand, which I have a helping hand here. All right, that's the orange wire. So now we need to put the orange wire back on and clip that spring back in before I lose it. Snaps right down there in the place. Okay. Tighten that down just a tad. Sometimes the heat from soldering will bend that clip a little bit. Okay. All right, same song, second verse. And again, we got to be very careful not to lose that spring. Okay, it's there. All right, so we need to tin up, clip. I believe it's the gray, and it is. It's the gray wire. Are we having fun yet? And again, we can use our helping hand here. All right, clip back on. Very carefully. There we go. All right. Put the motor mouse back on. Remount the motor. And give her a test shot, see if she runs. Which she should. Alrighty, gets turned around a little bit. Got to get these keyways lined up. There's actually an easier way to do is just pull the knuckle off, which I will end up doing. There we go. That side's in. This little knuckle off. You get them lined up easier. It's easier to snap that into place than it is to find the hole for the keyway on the other piece. You little booger. Alright, when all else fails, pull out. And start again. Well, I'll edit this one down. There we go. Okay, so we'll go on our test track here. It's important to note that virtually all decoder manufacturers set their default decoders to 3. So, let me find my A controller and we'll give her a try. One of the best things, my wife and I saved our, well, we didn't save as much as didn't throw away our old HTC cell phones when we switched over to iPhones. And they're great controllers. Download an app, Engine Driver, and away you go. All right. I guess it would help if I turn the power on to the track. And it goes in forward. And in reverse. This engine is probably 30, 40 years old, brand new in the box, so it needs a break-in period. Okay, so that's it for the motor control. We still have to install the lights and sound. Matter of fact, we can check out the sound now. All right. Sound's working. Motor control's working. Now all we got to do is the lights. And as I mentioned before, I super glued the fittings, both of these. I'll put you back where you belong now. All right. I super glued the lenses on to these two bulbs and ground the bulbs down. The other bulb, I already have fitted in place. That'll light up the cab and the number boards and this upper headlight. The other bulb will light up this headlight, and then the rear lights up that one. Okay? So the next thing you gotta do is just glue those two in place and wait. So I'll be back to you in a bit. Okay, per the instructions, the blue wire out of the decoder, on the front side of the decoder, is the common. And in this case, positive. Okay? On all three of the LEDs, the positive, the side with the resistor, because it must have a resistor on that LED, is red. So I have all three together plus to the blue. Alright, and I put a piece of shrink tubing in advance down two of the wires. Alright, so now we just need to shrink tube it together, and I just use the soldering iron. And shrink her down. This piece of shrink tubing is probably a little big for this. The next smallest I have won't accept all of them. What the shrink tubing does, it keeps it from shorting out and protects the solder joint. And it looks like I need to tighten my tip. There we go. Alright, and that should about do it. Okay. So, the next thing we have to do is we have to connect all of these leads to the front, rear, and the additional function. Now, the additional function I'm going to use is brown, which is the coupler sound as well. So when it gets turned on in the very beginning, you're going to hear the coupler, plus that light's going to come on. Or I can turn the coupler sound off, and that light will go off. All right, there's probably other ways to do it. When I was putting a Mars light function on one of my F units, I talked to Digitrax, and this is the way they recommended doing it. So I said, okay, we'll go that route then. All right. And here I am having problems with that again. Stripping these extra small wires is no easy task, at least not for me. Alright, so that's the brown, which gets the special one, and I pre-stripped a longer section of it so that I would know before I do anything. I do need to get a piece of shrink wrap on the shrink tubing on there. Okay.
Okay, so I noticed as I was putting together the videos and doing my editing that I lost the file with the final installation of the lights on this GP35, GP35, excuse me. So, I'm not going to take it apart, but just so you know that it does work, and give you an example of the lighting. Okay. Here to fire up. Yeah, let's turn some lights on. Alright, right now, that's the front light. Okay, let's turn the number boards and top headlight on. There we go. Alright, now let's take a look at the rear. Notice the rear lights come on, and the front and number board lights stay on, but you can turn them off. So now it's just the rear lights. Okay, and since that's the second GP45 for me, I've got it set up in a consist with another unit. Alright, so there you go. This is about my 10th Blue Box install. So I'm still got a GP40 or an SD45 on the workbench. So Everything's ready to go except need the decoder, which is supposed to arrive today. So anyway, that's it for September. Hopefully you enjoyed the update, and we'll start looking at October. And I'll throw in some running trains here at the end. Y'all have a great time.